My God. So lots more I could say, but I'm gonna leave it for you, man. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you embody here and now and all the timelines. Let us have it, man. Bring your magic. Thank you.
It's always interesting when you don't know what you're going to talk about. I know what I'm going to talk about. So you're going to be on a fun ride. I'm going to talk about a story that'll be really interesting. That when it hit me, it changed my life. Okay, and it has to do with the story of Adam and Eve. How many people know that story? All right. Not quite yet. Not quite yet. We might get into that. And no, it's okay. No, crowd pleaser, Magdalene vibes. I'm going to ask everybody a question. Who was the demon in the Garden of Eden? The snake? The snake, the ego, anybody else? Okay, separate. What if I told you it was Adam? All right. And this whole concept hit me like a ton of bricks the other day, and I'm going to rapidly run through it, then we're going to have a conversation about it. So, if the woman is the intuition, and Eve was seeking that which we were created in the image of, went to the tree of knowledge, tree of life, bit the apple, was guided by the snake in order to get there, and that was intuition. And she bit that, and now got closer to what God knew. And then who ran away when they were asked about that? Who didn't integrate it? Adam. So when Adam was challenged to stand by the side of his woman, what did he do? He ran, right? So he ran. He didn't actually integrate what it was to actually unite, that unity. When this hit me, I recognized what original sin really is. Okay? Original sin was Adam not standing by the side of the intuition of the woman that actually went and followed her intuition. Followed the snake. Now, we demonized the snake. We've demonized the woman. We've honored Adam. And we've taken whatever that time frame was until now, and we have literally bastardized humanity by not being able to integrate ourselves as the true mystical beings that we are by actually following that which brought us closer to God. I want to sit with that for a second, because when you hear that, it kind of fucks you up a little bit, because all of this biblical story and biblical knowledge, because it's all in the code, like the Bible is just code. Now, the way that we framed it, the way we've positioned it, and we all run from religion. Believe me, when I got on my spiritual path and my journey, I was like, fuck this thing. Literally, I was like, this Bible doesn't belong. I don't want to have anything to do with Christianity. I don't want to have anything to do with Islam, Judaism. And what brought me back was I started studying the Kabbalah under this rabbi for like 8 months. And he started showing me all of these codes. And you could take that one way and go really far with it, of course. But there's some really cool mystical things about it. It then unlocked this truth for me around how I used to show up in life and how I continue to show up in life. I had a situation happen the other day, and if any of you guys know my story, I don't know if any of you guys follow me. My entire life has been a shit show. Okay. I'll be candid with you. I should not be here right now. Okay. I was sexually abused between 9 and 14 years old. Okay. By a family member whose father shot himself in front of his family, in front of his whole family. So, of course, you see how the trauma persists itself and shows up over and over again. There's patterns that happen. For all of my life after that, I chased the external aspect of affirmation because I didn't know what it was like to love myself. Because at that broken boy from 9 to 14, I felt like I needed somebody to affirm me. I needed the illusion to affirm me. And what's wild about this illusion is that what we see is less than 1% of all visual light, right? So we don't see, but we build our entire construct of reality off of that which we don't really see, which is even wilder when you think about it. What I recognize on this path, and I'll go a little bit further into my journey, is that the woman, the feminine intuition, allows us to see that which we can't see. And for all of our life, we have focused on the story of Adam, the story of Moses, the story of Jesus, Yeshua, all of these stories, and said, okay, this is the path that we need to go down. And what's interesting is when I teach my classes, it's like 95% females, which is interesting. And it's like what I've noticed is that, and I love all the men that are here, is that the men that show up in these spaces that truly learn how to honor the feminine, they're not doing it in a space to where they're pulling and siphoning off that energy in order to find wholeness in themselves. A lot of that happens in the sexual spaces. A lot of that happens with trying to pull that intuition and, use the woman as a witch in order to do things for them. I mean, I see that happen over and over again in my classes and how people are demonized. And then demonization needs to happen so we remember how we show up in life. But the sexual abuse thing happened to me. And it was a traumatic pattern that extended itself from broken masculinity. And I'm going to talk about this like from how these patterns show up. Then at which point I'm like trying to prove to the world that I'm man enough, I'm masculine enough, I do these things, right? And I go through life. I end up in my 20s, immediately get out of my parents' house. And I'm like, oh, I can actually get married now. I want to form my own family because my family's fucked up because my dad had a whole other family. My mother's an alcoholic. I'm living in this like really kind of traumatic cycle of what family could look like. And then I'm like, okay, I can make my own. So I got married, dishonoring what marriage is, dishonoring what feminine form looks like in order to fill a gap and a hole inside of me. A lot of people do that. I just took it to like an extreme case, right? Of just like, let me try to like lock something in. That lasted about 6 months. Then I ended up going a little bit further. Got out of college, worked my ass off, was making a bunch of money. And this is what's interesting is my seeking for feminine affirmation actually led me to a window of abundance that was very materially driven, where I was my first year out of college making a couple $100,000 a year. Ended up getting to a point where I have a $20 million company that actually landed me in prison, which I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. Had a 46-month sentence doing that whole thing. And that definitely takes you off the grid. You see some things. In that whole process, tried to take my life 4 times, literally slit my wrist. I couldn't have held this microphone, I don't know, was it like 7 years ago? Okay. I couldn't have held it. Like I had no feeling in my right hand. Then all along that journey of trying to end my life, take my life, seek affirmation, and every time that I wanted to break myself, it was because the woman in my life did not affirm me enough. All right. And when you look at that, there's a thing in I do this work around modeling, not modeling like this, like where you stand and get a picture taken, but modeling around like causes that happen in the world. And there's underlying causes and proximate causes that take place in life. Underlying causes are the deeper truth that sits underneath it. This truth that we all know that we can never talk about, like the spiritual truth, like how things are actually architected themselves in this massive grid of humanity. Then you have these proximate causes like, oh, like this person cheats on their wife. This person has depression issues. This person has that, which all actually arise out of this grid when we understand how this grid has been laid for us. Okay. Most of us don't get it. And that's okay. We get it when we die because then we merge back with the one and then we do this whole thing. But, that's a whole process. When you go on this path of this spiritual awakening, and I was having a conversation with somebody out here earlier today, and they were just like, maybe it's just the one more thing I need to do. Maybe I need to just do Bufo, right? Maybe I need to do ayahuasca. Maybe I need to do this just so I can know what to do next. The reality of it is we all know what to do next. All right. We just don't listen to our intuition. Has anybody studied the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah? Raise your hands. Anybody? Yeah, handful. Okay. So I'm going to walk through this very linearly. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Code of Christ and then how you actually move things into sovereignty of light of yourself so that you can, if you take anything from this, you know what to do. All right. So story of Christ, we think Christ, well, some people think Christ like jumped up on this cross and saved everybody from their sins, right? Like that was the thing. Christ learned to walk as a mystic. He learned how to do mystical practices that people did not want him to share with the world wholly, openly. All right. And he was pushed down by other individuals that could keep this information secret in order to impact and control humanity. We have secret societies and all this other stuff that's out there. If you go deep into all these mystical teachings, whether it's Gnosticism or whatever it might be, and in the Kabbalah, you start to see this truth arise itself out. And the magic, whether it's walking on water, fish in a boat, water into wine, whatever it might be, okay, we can logically try to take ourselves there, but the reality of it is it's a mystical path that we all have the ability to walk. Every single one of you out here, every one of you, literally is the Messiah. Okay? Every one of you. Now, very few of us remember that, and very few of us are actually told that, and very few of us, right, actually embody that. And that is what worthiness is. And when it's funny, when I got on my path of being called the Abundance 10,000, I was just like, I knew why I did it, but it was kind of weird at the time and nobody understood it. And I was like, oh, it's going to be about a money thing, right? Because I learned how to make money. I learned how to actually I used to go to these Dr. Joe Dispenza retreats and sit in front of the kaleidoscope meditation and whip in $500,000. It was the weirdest stuff. I didn't know why. And I felt really dirty doing it. And then I would just give it all back. It was really weird stuff. So I learned how to magician my way into money making habits. But it didn't feel like it was integrated. And every time I made it, I lost it. Either I would lose it because I would have some weird ass attack or some legal thing that would happen, or all of a sudden, my entire company would freak out and I'd have to hire all new staff, and the client would fire me. It would be just stuff that I didn't actually integrate properly. And I wasn't integrating it because I didn't actually lean into intuition. I knew this kind of magical game and I was walking it completely unembodied. And many times when we get on the spiritual path, you'll have this magical thing that happens and then you step fully into that, right? You're like, oh, I can do that thing really well. I can do the tarot thing. I can read minds. I can fucking astral project. I can, whatever it might be. We can all do all these things, candidly, okay? But in the story of Christ, what he ended up learning how to do was that. But the only way that unlocked in him, and this is where the Magdalene comes in, okay, was actually the two Marys coming together. One that sat on one side of him that was the heart center, and one that sat on the other side of him that was the sacral center, okay? When you understand the way that this map moves, okay, that's actually this tree of life map. You can do very specific things in order to adjust your life based on the way that the code was actually handed to us as human beings. Yeshua, Jesus knew this. This has been around for a long time. Religion ends up, what I always say is that for religion to be successful, it has to tell you the truth, but it can also hide it, but it can put it right there in plain sight for you to figure it out. All this stuff is out there. Literally, I have 777 tattooed here. The 7 days of creation, keeping the Sabbath holy, okay? Literally is the 7 Hermetic principles that when you actually fully embody those principles, you can walk in the world as a freaking magician. You just got to know what those things look like, okay? It's really simple stuff. I think Zach's going to talk about Hermeticism a little bit tomorrow. Is it tomorrow? Yeah, okay. And when you understand those principles, you can walk and fully embody that. We have 7 chakras, we have 7 continents, we have 7 colors of the rainbow. 7's all over the place. I don't know how many times we have to remind ourselves what 7 looks like. But when you can embody that 7, you can fully embody these principles in a way that allows you to work as a mystic. That's one stage of it. The other stage of it is then how do you map from that 7 that moves through your body and understand how things move energetically through you. So in the tree of life, in the Kabbalah, everything moves in almost like a lightning bolt pattern, okay? It starts as this thing called the Ein Sof. The Ein Sof is just the energy. This crown called Keter that sits up here. If you use your body as almost like a tuning fork to bring these things through. The first thing that happens, and this is almost correlating specifically to the story of Eve, Adam, and all of that, it literally maps and then it goes to what's called intuition. It goes to understanding. It goes to feminine receivership. It goes to the left side of the tree. When you can take that energy and move it into your intuition immediately, okay, and then you listen and you follow that intuition, which is the snake that you follow. And we don't demonize the snake anymore. I can go on a whole path around heaven and hell and Satan and all this other stuff, but that's for another day. What happens is a process of integration that's called wisdom that goes to the right side, okay? And when that wisdom has the ability to fully integrate, and it's funny, if you think about Adam, the Hebrew name of Adam is actually human. It's grounding, right? It's grounding that intuition into a space to where you can actually bring it into what's called dot. So dot then moves right here into the center point, and that's knowledge. That's a knowing. When intuition and wisdom come together, you have a knowing. As human beings, what we have done is we've tried to be this wise thing. We've tried to take everything from our past. And this is why this whole, if you guys following in my videos, I get really big on this thing. Like I say, there is no time. Okay. I mean, there is time because fucking hey, I was pushed back a couple hours today. but but there is no time when it comes down to your ability to create in a sense of abundance and wholeness and fullness. Okay. And so what that means is when you actually step into your knowing, the story of Lot's wife in the Bible, where he's like, don't look back. We're not here for, and this is why it was actually the woman, the man could have looked back, right? Ish. But we're not to look back. She looked back. That was the feminine intuition looking back on the past. That's not the job of the female. It's the job of the female to actually see what's happening in the future. It's to be able to run into that darkness. It's why the moon, right? Why the night, why these things actually happen in that space. When you can step into the darkness and be the light that cascades that, and there's a supporting mechanism of masculinity that's there to actually hold that space, beautiful things start to happen. And it was funny, I heard where Jackson was talking about the 300. Go find the 300 strongest women, and you'll find the 300 strongest men, right? We are at this age of Aquarius, right? Where it is this feminine uprising. I don't know if men movies don't even make it anymore. Like, they even energetically, the Black Panther had to turn into a woman. I mean, it's stuff like that that's happening, right? It's interesting. The Rock is not crushing it anymore. Like it's just not a vibe, right? And you see this energetically creating itself so that we as men really understand where our place is. And the more that I try to masculine this world, the more that I break myself. The more that I've leaned into the feminine intuition and understood that there's somebody that's following that snake to that tree and is biting the shit out of that apple and is handing it to me every single time, I will bite that apple with them. Now, where it gets confusing, and this is something that I used to do a really poor job of as a man, because I've been married 4 times, okay? Like, I'm really good at it. And I got married every single time, outside of the last one, out of trauma, okay? Literally, like I was just like, oh, here's another one. Let me fix this. And I'm literally trying to save myself off of my mother wound that I had because my mother was adopted. She did the best that she could, and I carried that wound for the majority of my life, trying to fix that in the women in my life. And I was a womanizer. About 4 years ago, I went on this entire journey where I had an ayahuasca thing. I went out and I'm like, oh, I got it all figured out. Wrote a fucking manifesto, and I know exactly where to go. That manifesto is like this much accurate anymore, but it was really good then, right? It was great. Built a little mini cult in LA that followed me around. We were like 20 of us running around and they were listening to me and I felt really good about myself, right? I would go to Dr. Joe Dispenza retreats and, find the next like person that was my Mary Magdalene and be like, oh yeah, we're going to do this thing. I'm sure you guys have seen this story over and over again, right? I was one of those guys. And I did an iboga journey that grounded the fuck out of me. Has anybody done iboga here? Got 1, 2, is it 3? We're gonna do a ceremony after this. No. And everybody's gonna throw up some black shit. It's gonna be great. You're gonna be paralyzed for 36 hours, 46 hours. It was awesome. I highly recommend it. Would never do it again. Okay. But with iboga, it showed me everything that I needed to face in myself. I did not get up from that ceremony until I actually understood all of the negative self-love that I was holding on to. Okay. Then after that, I tried to actually keep my patterns going because I didn't know how to break those patterns. And I went to the Hoffman process. Anybody done the Hoffman process? All right, a little bit more. It's a little bit more delicate. Okay. But at which point, once I was able to recognize my negative self-love patterns, I was able to fully embody those and feel those. And I was able to spiritually connect to them. Everything in my life started to change. The knowledge that starts to come in when you connect your intuition and your wisdom into knowing is a very beautiful journey. It's a heady journey though. It's not a fully embodied journey. It's not something that I can, if you watch my videos, it's great. I got all this stuff. Like you hear it. It's, oh, that's really cool. And then you go figure it out yourself. But to truly integrate it, that is 95% of the battle. We can all read the things. We can all listen to Alan Watts. We can all listen to Wayne Dyer, the Joe Dispenzas, all the people of the world. And it means nothing because we're still in the same cycles. We've had some of the greatest teachers that I've ever seen in my life go out and say these things, but very little is integrated. I have been on way too many plant medicine journeys. Well, not too many. I've been on the right amount, apparently. But I've been on quite a few plant medicine journeys and integrated very few of those. And as the responsibility of walking into the spiritual journey is, how do we make it tangible? How do we turn the 99% that we don't actually see and bring it into that 1%? The responsibility that we have to show, or the responsibility that we have around the spiritual realm of being able to take this 99% that we don't see, all we have to do is concretize it into 1% of the visual spectrum of light. That's how easy our job is as human beings. And it cannot happen at all if we do not understand what I say roles, not roles as far as it has to be like, you know, man, woman have to do this specific thing, but our masculine and feminine roles of how we embody things in life. Every one of us individually has masculine and feminine inside of us. To be a truly embodied masculine, I have to be as much of an embodied feminine as I possibly can be. At least I have to have empathy of what that looks like. I have to understand how that concretizes itself inside of my heart, inside of my sacral. I have to be able to fucking check my dick, right? I have to do those things that a lot of people don't do. And in this space, what I've found as I've gone on this journey is, you know, the Peter Parker thing, to great power comes great responsibility. You will be challenged like crazy the further that you get into this journey. So if you are on an easy path, I'm going to say right now, you're not doing enough. Okay. And I'm not saying that the path should be hard, but the path should be looked at through a lens of wisdom and love to help to have you put yourself in a position where you can empathetically receive and you can alchemize this into a win-win for everybody. When anybody loses, we all lose because we're all interconnected. So every time, and this is the part of the human journey. You know, every time that somebody loses situationally in your life, you have lost yourself, even if you think that you've walked off of something. So to ground this now into tangible abundance and what that means. I used to think that abundance was the energy of the divine. I'm like, oh, this is divine energy. I'm just receiving a lot of it. So that's awesome. Well, that doesn't really ground itself. What I've identified is abundance is equal to femininity, is equal to receivership. When you can be a strong enough vessel that's clean enough, that's clear enough, that's moved the trauma through yourself, been able to associate with it, know exactly how it's a pattern and a gift in your life. And you can take, I always use the analogy of a cup with ice cubes in it. I can take the ice cubes out of the cup and I can set them over here and let them melt so they actually turn back into water. I have a cup that's there that's so worthy to receive that anytime that the energy pours into it, it can fill that cup up exactly the way that the divine flow is supposed to be there. When I can do that, and I can truly be in a space of receivership, the whole game changes. But I have to actually have a vessel to receive. And what is the vessel? The vessel is that feminine receivership. I saw the vessel. As a masculine avatar, okay, that has bits and pieces of masculinity, okay, all around, I have a role and a responsibility to integrate the feminine intuition. One of the gifts that I know that I've given myself is that when I look at, you know, the audience on Instagram or somebody who joins my course or whatever it might be, I get so much, I don't know if I use the word more, but I get so much out of the women on these classes because they give me things that I would never have imagined. And then it's my job to now integrate that. So the sucky thing is that the story of the woman has really not been written. We've got all this masculine stuff out there. The story of the feminine hasn't been written. And we're at a time now where we are here to write that story. And when all of us come together and us as masculine beings, masculine energy can create those safe spaces so that this feminine intuition has the ability to create, the ability to follow that snake, where we no longer demonize this thing that we have now called the devil, that we have separated from God and separated ourselves from it. That's when it all comes back together. And the way that it will happen will be in a flash of an eye. It's not going to take time because time at that moment will disappear. We have these things that we call extraterrestrials, right? That are, anybody believe in this here in the, okay. or know this to be true? Okay. If there is no if there is no space and time, realistically in the realm of the divine, and we are all interconnected and we are them. They are this evolved version of us that is here as we start to evolve will help us remember who we are. And so when you have those experiences, lean in and understand how to integrate that. Also understand who has the ability in your life to see that before you can see it. And we're at a point in time where we no longer doubt that story anymore. So I say all that to say, as we go through this, I'm going to go back to the tree of life for a second. As we go back to this tree of life, it lives inside of every one of you. It's literally a grid that you can imprint over your body. Okay. And that process of imprinting it is you are being bombarded every single day with abundant energy, divine energy, knowledge that's coming into you. That's why sometimes you'll just have like a knowing that comes out of nowhere. You're like, where the hell did that come from? Okay, that's that. When you have the ability to lean, I always use left and right. Left side's feminine, right side's masculine. Okay, if you have a problem on your left side, you generally have something wrong with the feminine aspect of yourself. You have something wrong with the right side of your body, you have something wrong with the masculine aspect of yourself. It's pretty simple. Okay, it just goes this way. You listen to the parts of your body because the body is here to literally to give you that feeling remembrance of where things are in balance, off of balance, how you can actually receive that energy and how it can flow through you. When you can move things from here over to your intuition, you listen to it, you now take it and you move it into this whole aspect of wisdom and integration, constantly move it into your heart, which is actually this Mother Mary energy, okay, which this, I have a whole class around this. Okay. Then you take that, and what'll happen is it then moves over to this side of your body, which is strength. Okay, this is the feminine is actually very much so about strength, strength and receivership. Then at which point it will come over here, and this is love. Okay, so whenever this feels out of balance, there's something loving that's off, but that's the masculine. What you put out into the world is love. What you give is love. Okay, you receive in strength, you give in love. Then you move it down here. Okay, and then this is literally empathy. Everybody that a lot of people are afraid of empathy, not everybody. A lot of people are afraid of empathy because I don't want to feel what other people feel. When you can feel what other people feel, then you have the ability to alchemize that, and it will literally move through your sacral. And this is a translation layer that allows you to now bring this into what's called victory or win-win for everybody. It grounds itself into foundation, and then it creates sovereignty in your life. Okay. This literally is a grid and a map that lives over your body. It's instructions for how to move divine energy literally into this physical realm on an ongoing basis. And it requires a different kind of relationship with femininity that we've had as human beings. Okay. This is the hardest part about this is one of the things I teach, but I probably shouldn't be teaching it because I'm not the person that truly fully can embody that. I can just see where it's broken from a masculine perspective. So my call and my invitation, and we can even have a conversation or questions about this, are that all of you that embody physically, that can show up in this world as that divine energy of femininity, you are here to be able to tell that story now. Okay. And that is when we become truly abundant. That's what abundance is. When that happens, there will be no want for money. There will be no issues with health. Okay. This thing that we have that's we call heaven will be here right now. But it requires us to go and rewrite the story. This myth that we had that we've been carrying for thousands and thousands of years about the story of Adam and Eve and reset that story so that at some point the masculine can literally sit right next to the feminine that knew exactly what to do. And when that apple and that tree of knowledge, that tree of life keeps getting bitten, because it will keep getting bitten, we reset the entire timeline. Okay. What's wild is they've proven this out in scientific study. There's a guy named Robert Wheeler that has a study called the delayed choice quantum eraser, where he literally reset time by going back and then reset the timeline. There's a book by Dr. Robert Lanza, if you guys want to read it, that talks about this. We have the ability to reset timelines over and over again. You can just do that. So we all know that story. We go reset that story. We reset the timeline. Our material world and what we see will then change. So I'm open for any questions if you guys have any. All right. I can talk for a really long time, so I won't do that. but I'm open because I'm sure that there probably are questions here or there about this. So yes. Lilith? Do you want me to talk about Lilith? What do you want me to talk about, Lilith? She is the answer. Well, go further. Come here. Come sit. This is just an interactive speech. I love this. Let's go. All right. Tell me why she is the answer. Here.
Okay. Lilith was the embodied divine sovereign feminine before Eve, and that's why they erased her. She was wild, she was free, and she was not made from Adam. She was her. She was open, she danced, she shook her ass, and they didn't like it. And so they demonized her, created Eve from Adam, the more subservient, different feminine that we now come to see and come to try to box the feminine. Try to tell them, here is the box, you can dance here. But instead, we need to create it borderless.
Yeah.
And then she dances within wherever she wants to go. And when she says, I want to go over here, you say, okay, I take the box over there.
So I love that. So what came to me when you said Lilith was, to me, Lilith is the snake, right? The moving, the shaking of the dancing, that fully embodied guide that led Eve to remember who she was, right? To reset that. So we've, of course, demonized Lilith, right? We put Lilith in a space to where there's this whole construct. I'm going to go down the path of the devil real quick, okay? Because we're going to talk about that. Because what we've done is, if you take the first 7 days of creation, okay, and Lilith at inside of that first 7 days, right? Somewhere in that window, that embracing receivership energy that could sit there and create life from a truly abundant space. And inside of that story, one of the most beautiful things that I see inside of religious texts is that always said, God said it was good. Never said anything was bad. Never. So whatever was created in those windows was good. So this is going to be the thing that always fucks people up in the spiritual space. And then it's like, okay, was this whole concept around Satan good or bad? We created it so that we can rationalize our judgment as human beings. We created an entity, we created darkness, we created separation so we can rationalize judgment and righteousness. And the one thing that I always say, I love this dog. I love it. Yeah. The one, there we go. Enough of the dog, right? The one thing, sorry, it's coming out. The one thing that I'll say is that when we become truly sovereign as human beings is when we remove the concept of judgment and righteousness from us. I challenge any of us to take one day and not judge anything. We have been taught to judge, and that's the thing that actually makes us who we are. Separation, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we'll share. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Thank you. But I challenge all you to try that. When you can really truly be in receivership of your feminine energy, you don't want to judge because you see everything that you are receiving in your life as something as good. If you truly are a vessel of receivership, everything you take in through your eyes every single day, everything that you see, literally you created it. Everything. Nothing shows up in your life by accident. There's not one that's always weird when you hear yourself glitch out. Yeah. There's not one person here that is an accident. I'm not an accident to you, and you're not an accident to me.
When you can finally say thank you Because if you created all of this, then it means I created every single interaction, every single thing I see, and every single experience that happens to me. So when you're going through something hard, you say, thank you for the soul contract I made here so that I can learn what I meant to learn here. And you surrender and say thank you to yourself. And when someone treats you awfully, you're like, thank you for this mirror, because somehow, some way, I am you as well. And I'm treating people poorly. Why do I feel like I need to do that? And you get to the root of it and you say thank you, because that person is another experience, another expression of you, and another version of you that was less healed. So you say thank you for being able to hold compassion for that version of you, and thank you that you're not that version anymore.
100%. 100%. The thing that I'll say is one of the most challenging paths that I have ever been on was when I started the spiritual journey, and I was literally like, oh, I've got it all figured out now. I think we all do that. And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to see that which you have not seen, right? It's being able to see like, oh, I go on a journey and I'm seeing sacred geometry, right? It's being able to like look at everybody as a reflection of yourself, and then you judge yourself because you're judging them. It's like this little freaking thing, you know. And people will always ask me like, how do you get this information? How do you get this knowledge? How does it come in? I've literally gotten myself so far out of the way, but I'm here and I'm present. Like that's the paradox. It's like, how can you be present and not be here at the same point? Right? And then how can you then go through the process? We've been taught all these other things. How can you move through space and time and be everywhere and omnipresent and constantly connect with everybody in your life, and then know that everybody is truly part of you, and that you are supposed to feel literally every interaction and no longer judge those interactions? You know, when you were saying, you know, people treat you harshly, or people treat you poorly. I absolutely now love it when somebody wants to bring me their shit. I'm like, just bring it. Yeah. Well, I do. I want to take it in. Let's take it in and alchemize it. Let's take it in and let me hand it back to you with something different. Because there's not anything that anybody can do to me, even if somebody were to come right now, and I know this sounds insane, and were to put a gun to my head and pull the trigger right now, right? If they were to do that to me and I were able to receive that fully without fear, yes, I would be dead physically. Okay, so there is no like, there is no like, oh yeah, I figured this matrix shit out. You know, it has nothing to do with that. But to truly be able to surrender into that, similar to as Christ did on the church, on the cross, if we use that as a story and a narrative, that is when we are able to actually say it is finished. Where we're able to sit there and say, forgive them, for they not know what they do. Right? Because who is the they? Yeah, they is us. They is also God. God is us. So what's wild is what Christ actually did when he said that is he forgave God. Right? And why do we forgive God? Not because God needs forgiveness, it's so that we can actually accept God in his fullness. That is abundance. That's how we change the world. That's how we heal. That's how money becomes a non-matter, non-issue anymore. And it will come to you. It will literally show up for you like crazy. I've had the most wild things happen in my life. Like the first time that I ever saw a huge check, I went to a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. I'm literally doing a walking meditation. I was down to my last $2,500. I had never had any reckoning of how to forgive a family member that sexually abused me, my father that ended up, you know, it was all over the place with his women stuff, which I repeated that pattern in my life. For trying to take my life, for all the things. I never forgave any of that. I had this moment on the beach where literally it hit me. This thing hit me on the head. This fire ran through my body. My hands lit on fire. The feeling came back in this hand that I had no feeling in anymore. I literally still have it, 2 broken vertebrae in my back, and they like all of a sudden adjusted themselves. I was able to walk without a limp. I was able to now hold a microphone without dropping it. Okay. And literally the very next day, I get a phone call from a client that wired $1 million into my bank account. Okay. And that had absolutely nothing to do with me. It had to do with me letting go of the trauma in my life. And this has happened over and over and over and over again. Now, at points in my life, I thought it was a magic trick I was doing at a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. So I kept going to them and I was hooked. And then I felt so guilty when I would go to those things that I would literally donate back half of everything that I got back to Inner Science Research Firm. Like, you know, it was just like nuts. And then I realized that I was actually worthy enough to hold it for myself. And now it's what I choose, not out of guilt because I'm on a spiritual path, but is this truly out of actually seeing the abundance in others and helping others? Yeah.
When you realize and actually start meditating on the fact that abundance is all around you, the abundance isn't just monetary. There's an abundance of leaves and grass, hair on your head, skin on your body, human beings to lock eyes with. That's the true abundance. And every single day, you thank God for that true abundance and yourself, because you are God, right? No separation. You thank God for every single little piece of abundance. And then the monetary abundance will flow. And then all the things you think you wanted, you'll get them because you're thankful for what you already have, because you already have everything. I have nothing, homeless. And I sit there every day. I'm like, I'm so grateful for this, and the birds that just chirped, and the clouds, the real ones, and the sun. And like, I don't have to be afraid of where the money's going to come from, because it will. As long as you continue to put your energy out there, knowing that it'll return to you, because energy, as much as you put out, you'll get back. And it's not in your timing. It's not supposed to be in your timing. You decided the timing when you made the contract. So just wait, be patient, and don't manic manifest. Manic manifesting gets you nowhere. You're like, I need this, I need this, I need this. No, 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 no. Detach from all the things that you need and make room for all the things that you truly will magnetize everything that you actually, I don't like the word need, but what you actually require for your soul to light up.
That's beautiful. You're building an altar on your legs right now. I love this. Love this. Yeah. Thank you for that. I love that. How much time?
You have as much time as you want.
Oh. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, go for it. Yeah.
So you're talking about, okay, when you release your trauma, you magnetized abundance and healing, right? I'm curious for you, what is the common theme in the people that you've served and coached and walked through this path that you've walked? What is blocking them, and how do they overcome that when it comes to using their gifts to serve, receiving abundance, holding abundance, maximizing abundance?
Yeah. The biggest block that I ever see is judgment, honestly. Whenever I take the fastest path is whenever I can help somebody move through, because I do help people with this as well. I just don't talk on Instagram. But when I help people remove the judgment layer, okay, and they get in a rhythm of that. There was a class I had recently, and I asked somebody, I said, what's the best dish you cook? And they said fajitas. I said, when you first started cooking fajitas, were you good at it? They said, no, I wasn't good at it at all. I said, how long did it take you to be good at cooking fajitas? And he said, well, it took a couple of years to actually get the recipe down where my family, my kids didn't want to spit it out. I said, but you can cook it now without thinking about it. And she said, yeah, I cook it now without thinking about it. On our spiritual journey, we want it to happen like this. We want it to just like instantly figure it out. We don't want to cook fajitas. We don't want to stumble and fall. Okay, we don't want to like actually go back and then refine the thing and do it over and over again. So when we think about things like judgment, practicing it over and over again. You just keep doing it. How do I not judge? Okay, I'm doing it again. I'm judging it. Okay, let me stop it. Every time I do it, I go back and apologize to somebody for somebody I've judged. Being able to express that's extremely important. So judgment is the main thing. When you remove judgment, you actually remove all the generational. Back with the past anymore, that's basically keeping you in a rhythmic cycle of the trauma patterns that have always been there. They're just gone. That is the fastest path. Now, to do that path, sometimes you got to go through your negative self-love patterns. You have to understand, like, I got it from my mother and my father. I need to do a couple of exercises. Like, there's some things that you can do to get there. But that's it. That's what I've seen.
I don't have a question. I have to.
No, you don't have to. Okay. Oh, that plan is going. Yeah. There you go. Amazing. Loving the plan. Loving the plan. I love that. Yes, sir.
Kind of related to the plant.
Yeah. Dope. Synchronicity. There you go.
And a couple other things that you were talking about, the emptying of the vessel in order to make space for the maybe masculine direction or the circle to be completed over and over again, as well as the letting go of a need to control or a living into the flow or the direction of the serpent. The allowing, do we allow the plant to, do we allow the dryness of the atmosphere to take the water out of the plant's leaves, or do we intervene? How do we find that balance, and when do we take the action to change something while remaining satisfied?
Great question. I would say there's I'm going to go there, but I'm going to go around the block a little bit to get
Sure.
there. Okay. There are emotions and there's feelings. Feelings are not emotions. Okay. We have this beautiful body, this physical body that most of us aren't in tune with because we're overthinking. When I overthink, I attempt to control something in my life. We can't control anything, literally. Okay. I am not controlling this microphone or even my mouth. I am putting a set of codes in place to actually get my words to speak, right? I am influencing this microphone. I am influencing my mouth. Everything is an influence from a center source. That influence that I have from a center source is actually based on a feeling that is so deep in my body that most of us don't even touch. To do the thing that you're talking about requires us to actually be three-dimensional beings. And I'm going to talk about what that means. Most of us live in two dimensions. Most of us understand how to initiate something. We know how to kind of integrate something, but we don't know how to go deep within anything. Okay. I don't know how this microphone is made. I don't know how fast my heart is really beating right now. I don't know how the blood is moving through my body. So the depth of me even understanding the physical aspect of myself, which is literally less than 1% of the visual spectrum of light that I actually have to experience, I don't even have an understanding of that. So if I want to know, truly know how to embody the question that you have right there, I need to have an understanding of a depth of myself that's so deep that when I feel something, I can lean into that feeling. Okay. And I'll give you an example of it. This past weekend, I had a really intense ayahuasca journey. Okay. And I didn't even go for the second day because it was like this insane information that came to me that if I even tried to get it out of my body right now and talk about it, I would probably go mad because it was just so much information. And I was like, it was on Friday the 11th. But what did come to me in that moment in time is how to feel what I need to feel more, how to feel that code, how to feel it in my body. So now I'm starting to be very intentional about, when I feel this in my chest, it means this. When I feel it in my stomach, it means this. When I feel it over here, it means this. Little things. When I scratch my head. And I can now associate those patterns with other people. So now you're able to actually read the code of the field of understanding what other people are going through, because we all have the same patterning, right? And so when that plant is doing that, what she felt in order to save the plant was an intuitive feeling that guided her to it, to be like, I got to do something about this because I'm not going to watch that plant go away. And that's a feeling she had. I guarantee you she didn't like overthink it, even to the point to where she is willing to come up here, and not in a negative way, just like in the middle of the speech, to take care of the plant. That's a feeling-centered move, right? Right? So when you can feel it in your body, you don't figure it out here. We do this thing and we like make our minds like brains, not even our mind. It's our brain goes bananas seeking an answer that is literally at the depth of yourself. And when you can become a three-dimensional being and go deep, that's when you shift the entire matrix of your life. So, thank you. Does that answer the question? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? More questions? Yes. Oh. Oh, sorry. I just split the difference. I don't care.
Same. We're all the same.
It's all yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you.
Okay.
No, just rock. Just rock. We're good. I didn't see there, so my apologies. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for your energy and just sharing a lot what you know about the Kabbalah. I'm studying that as well. So when we talk about the divine feminine energy, oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Verizon, can you hear me now? Okay. So when we talk about the divine feminine energy and this rise of the 13th zodiac sign, Ophiuchus, which is my zodiac sign.
Yeah.
And we speak about divine feminine energy with Kundalini because you talked about Kabbalah. Do you know anything about that as far as like when it comes to our awakening? Because this is like what I specialize in, but I would love to hear what you think and or no.
Or about
Yeah, so the rise of the divine feminine energy, which is represented by the Kundalini, which is in Hebrew, Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, the breath, the life force of God. So when we talk about the rise of that, and you talked about the vessel, the purification of the vessel, the Kundalini energy actually purifies each chakra, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, like, if you had anything deeper with that, or if you've experienced, or if you're going through a Kundalini remembering, or anybody you know. Yeah.
So I'll say this: the whole planet's going through a Kundalini remembering right now, right? It's this age of Aquarius is that Kundalini awakening for the planet. Okay, that whatever what I would say, like this, I'm not precious about the information that I receive, but whatever this like information I received about the snake and like how we actually move into that snake, the Kundalini, it moves in that same fashion, is that breakthrough of that feminine energy literally clearing that vessel itself. So unless I may have a deeper answer within it, what I recognize is that the planet is in that space right now. We are in this window between the years of 2027 and 2030. It's going to be a very interesting clearing and awakening for all of us. Okay. It's going to be something that those that embody truth and wholeness will be okay. Right. We are here to actually responsibly help others remember how to be okay. And so, like, even in business now, when I go in and I help companies or whatever, I have a whole other thing, life that I live. When I do that, I'm walking in and I'm like, we're just like doing breath work at the beginning of the meeting, right? Because we're dropping in so that we can actually tune ourselves in. Not in some woo-woo spaces, we just got to center ourselves. And then I'm asking them, where are they holding trauma and what is this trauma response you're actually doing associated with the way you're running your business? Because you can't fix the problem unless they fix themselves. And is there a depth and understanding of self? The depth and understanding of self is that Kundalini awakening. That's the piece that's inside of you that you need to be so in tune with. Then we can go fourth and fifth dimensional being. Like we can be that stuff. But we claim to be this fourth, fifth dimensional being, but we don't even understand the dimension of self. So that, yes, we are, there is a global wake up. It is happening right now. It is going to be as ferocious as it could possibly be to get our attention. When we receive it, it's going to be really delicate, right? And it's going to be like a kiss on the cheek, or it's going to be like a kick in the ass, one of the two. It's up to us to choose how we receive it. Thank you.
We have 2 more questions.
I just want to echo what Jubilee said as well. And I think everybody else here, like, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and for sharing your story with vulnerability. My question, we talked about the fourth and fifth dimension, activating our Merkabas, and kind of like where you are in your journey. How would you help people who are, regardless of where they are on their journey, step into kind of awakening more and being able to be more familiar with that fourth and fifth dimension and that remembrance of a Merkaba and that we are divine beings?
100%. So I teach a thing. There's only 9 numbers in the universe. Okay. 1 through 9. 0 is just a placeholder. It moves you from set to set. And each number has a very specific code associated with it. When we understand the code associated with each one of those numbers, it allows us to know what to do when we start to see that code show up in our life. So I'll walk us through this really quickly. okay? Because I don't have the whole thing to do it, but I can do it in a 90-second video. I'll do it here, okay? So yeah, first dimension is initiation. When you start seeing ones and things show up in your life, you are here to initiate something. It's getting your attention. The letter A, the number 1. So it happens in letters, it happens in numbers. Everything in your life that you're witnessing, that you're seeing, is literally specific code that you can use in order to actually break all this stuff down. Everything that happens moves in a digital root. So if I see the number 11, it's 1 + 1 = 2. So anything, any name, any number, anything like that that's in your life, you can literally break it down to a very specific code of a number that what you're supposed to do with that, okay? Number 2 is integration. When you see 2 show up, you are supposed to integrate. This is the cross, 1 and 2. So that whole cross symbol is about integration and initiation. Number 3 is the depth of self. It's going deep. So whenever you see 3 show up in your life, 333, that's the kind of stuff takes place, like all of a sudden, this is a code for you to be able to then action on going deeper. Number 4 is time, presence. You have to become present when that happens. So the 4th dimension, whenever we get in meditative states, we are literally moving into the 4th dimension. We are present, okay? 5th dimension is non-judgment, non-righteousness. That's how you can actually connect with spirit, because spirit has no judgment and righteousness. We think there's spirit that has judgment and righteousness. That's this God thing that we built that literally has us in an aspect of separation between, you know, God and the devil and all this other stuff. But God does not, whatever this divine thing, whatever you want to call it, Yahweh literally has no judgment. 6th dimension is the plan that you have intended for you. So God set every one of us in a frequency of self, which is why nobody in our life was born at the same place, same time as you. Even a twin is coded at a very specific frequency as you. I don't care who it is. At that same spot, nobody else is there, ever. Okay, nobody else came out of the same belly or vagina that any of us did. Like, it's impossible, right? That's the 6th dimension. You have a very specific code and a very specific plan intended for you. 7th dimension, it's the bridge from I to we. It's the same thing as the 7 Hermetic principles. When you get into the, so I say keep the Sabbath holy. When you keep the Sabbath holy, you literally see yourself away from self and you now unite with everybody else in your purpose. 8th dimension is the dimension of we, the dimension of all of us. It's literally in an 8 all the time, right? And then the 9th dimension, you invert the 6 to the 9, and that's the divine plan for the all, within all, okay? That's the code that's been set for us. And so whenever you, the way that you, what you're asking, someone answer the question, how you get familiar with it is you get familiar with the actual association of what those codes mean. And then you start to see the speaker. Oh shit, what is, I keep looking at the speaker. What does it mean? I can break that speaker down into a specific code. It actually gives me a number. I'm supposed to do something with that. If I start seeing, let's say, everybody in my life, like one time I had a person, Mats, that showed up. I had like 20 Mats in my life at one point. When I break that down to code, this is my path and my journey, okay? And so this 4th, 5th dimension, all of these different areas that we want to lean into, we're looking to go to a place. A dimension is not a place you go, it's something you embody, right? So when you can embody 5th dimension, non-judgment, non-righteousness, all of a sudden you're connected with spirit, then you can make different decisions, then you actually move literally right into your 6th dimensional plan for you. Your purpose will literally drop into you like crazy once you remove judgment and righteousness, and you will be in flow in everything in your life. Does that answer the question? Yeah. All right. Amazing.
We have one last question, one final question.
Oh, no pressure. Geez.
This is it.
First of all,
This is it.
guys, give it up for our speaker here. It's amazing. Learn so much.
Thank you, guys.
I'm working here with Jackson. Everything that you mentioned, I've been able to connect with. I think when I tapped into my feminine energy, when I lost my sister, I lost Sadie, who I loved, and I lost her to cancer. And I appreciate those moments. And I gave God thanks to that. And I went through that. And I accepted that femininity side of things. That's when my abundance came in. So 2 things I would like for you to maybe give the audience here. One is what do men need to work on so we can balance? I'm a Libra, so I feel like I'm finally balanced because my male and my female there. So what are some of the things that men can work on so that we can find that balance? And what do women have to work on in their masculine side so that they can rise, like you mentioned?
So I'm going to, if you take the different aspects of the tree of life in the Kabbalah, okay, when you can fully embody, you have to understand what those things are. So on the masculine side, wisdom, okay, we have to learn, and we have to learn how to integrate that. It's extremely important for us, okay? The next thing is love. What do we give every single day? Are we giving love? Are we giving hate? Are we, I mean, so when you can and truly understand what love means, it's a non-judgmental love. Love has no conditions to it. So when you can actually move into a space of non-judgmental love with people, unconditional love, not a reason that you love people, you just love, period. That's the masculine embodiment, okay? Then it's victory, okay? Victory is literally having everybody win. There's always a path where everybody wins, okay? We don't know what that looks like most times because we've been taught that this is what victory looks like and this beats that and so on and so forth. Whenever you make, better of one or worse of another, you make better of something, you make worse of another. So it's keeping that balance. Language in that space is extremely important. Things when we say, I'm going to try, I think, I want, I hope, I believe, they're very nice, delicate words, but they don't actually integrate anything. So it's being mindful with the words you say, how you say them, what you put out into the world. On the feminine side, intuition, okay? We have to stop doing things to fuck with females' intuition and gaslighting them and telling them that they don't know what they're talking about, because 99% of the time they do. Okay. And I've been guilty of this plenty of time. Okay. Number two, strength. They hold strength much different than we ever could. Okay. They literally have a womb that can hold a child for 9 months, right? I mean, it's like it's a real deal. Okay. They literally shed lining and go through fucking pain once a month. And it's like watching this is like, whoa. Okay. The whole market, right, for this. Times with the moon, right? Then after that is empathy, fully embodying empathy. Okay. I had a thing that I said, I remember when I was on my early spiritual journey where I was like, look, I don't want to be empathetic because it hurts too much. So I'll be compassionate, but I won't be empathetic. Now I take that empathy. I'm like, bring this shit. I want to feel what you feel. I want to know what you know. I want to, whatever that hurt is, because I could show you a way out of it. And when we embody that, that's the feminine side. When we embody that, we can alchemize it. And what happens when that happens is this thing called beauty and foundation show up in our life. It's a foundational beauty that creates sovereignty. And so no matter where you are on your journey, you know, and like, here's the thing, you'll feel it in your body. Okay. For the longest time, my right hand, which literally sat right here, I was not creating victory for myself or others in my life. And however I would hold it on myself, it would literally be where it was out of balance because this was a damaged piece of me. Now, when I made a decision to truly find victory, non-judgment, give love, and move in wisdom, the feeling in my hand comes back. And I will tell you right now, when I get out of integrity with that, my hand goes numb again. That's how sensitive it is. So you can use your body to understand what that looks like. Does that make sense? All right, they're gonna kick me off the stage here. But if you guys, I'll be around for a little bit. I'll be around tomorrow, Saturday, and this has been beautiful. Thank you guys. I love you. Beautiful. Y'all are awesome.